The bathroom door exploded open like a SWAT raid nobody ordered. Steam rolled out thick enough to hide a crime scene. And there she stood, Deborah Langston, Willow Creek Estates HOA president, pearls gleaming like she was about to judge a bake-off instead of invading someone's privacy. "Random water conservation inspection," she announced in that syrupy voice that made your skin crawl. "You've ignored 3 notices, Mr. Bennett. Time to verify the violation ourselves." My wife, Emily, screamed from behind the shower curtain, raw, terrified, completely exposed, while I stood there clutching a towel like it was body armor. Deborah didn't even blink. She just smirked, clipboard raised like a royal decree. But here's the thing nobody in that bathroom knew yet. Emily wasn't just any wife. She was FBI. And the second she ripped that curtain aside, dripping wet, flashing that gold badge like a lightning bolt, the entire room froze colder than the water still running behind her. Deborah's smug little smile twitched, just for a split second, before she recovered with her favorite line. "This is an HOA matter, darling. We have jurisdiction here." Jurisdiction. The word hung in the humid air like a bad joke nobody was laughing at. Because Deborah Langston had just walked into the one house where her little kingdom rules meant exactly nothing. I didn't explode. Not yet. I simply stepped between them, towel still knotted, voice calm as a bomb technician. "Out. Now." The 2 bored minions behind her shuffled like scared schoolkids. Deborah tried one last power move. "We're protecting property values." But the badge glinted under the bathroom lights, and her voice cracked just enough for me to hear the fear underneath the fake politeness. By the time the front doors slammed behind them, the whole cul-de-sac was peeking through curtains. Whispers started before the echo even died. Everyone had a Deborah story. Nobody had ever dared tell one out loud. Until now. The next morning, the red violation notice was taped to our door like a scarlet letter. $1,200 for excessive water use. Deborah's signature at the bottom in perfect cursive, like she was signing a death warrant instead of robbing a chemo survivor's dignity. Emily stood on the porch in her robe, badge clipped to the pocket now like armor. "If you don't drag this into the light," she said quietly, "they'll bury us and call it community standards." She was right. So I didn't rip the notice down. I left it there for the neighbors to see exactly how far Queen Deborah would go. Then I walked straight to the entrance of Willow Creek Estates, the crown jewel everyone bragged about at neighborhood parties. The Serenity Cascade, a ridiculous marble fountain that cost the HOA a fortune and leaked like a sieve. Water poured from hairline cracks in the basin, pooling in the grass and turning the roundabout into a swamp. Deborah had used this thing in every single newsletter, saving water for our future, while fining families $500 for letting kids run through sprinklers longer than 7 minutes. I crouched down, took photos, measured the runoff with the little gauge I always carried. My civil engineering brain was already doing the math. State Conservation Code violations stacked higher than the fines she loved handing out. Neighbors slowed their cars, windows cracking open. I didn't hide what I was doing. Let them watch. Let them start asking the same question I'd been asking since Deborah kicked our bathroom door in. Who the hell made her God? By afternoon, I was in the maintenance shed behind the tennis courts. Carlos Rivera, the guy Deborah treated like her personal errand boy, was pretending to fix a perfectly good leaf blower. His hands shook when he saw me. I didn't waste time. "She made you use the master key, didn't she?" Carlos stared at the floor. Sweat beaded on his forehead even though the AC was blasting. "She said it was routine," he muttered. "Said if I didn't, she'd write me up for incompetence. I got 2 kids in college, man." I leaned against the doorframe, voice low. "She's making you commit felonies to protect her image, Carlos. And when the state comes knocking, because they will, she'll throw you under the bus faster than you can say unemployment. You really want to keep carrying her water?" He didn't answer, but the wrench slipped from his fingers and clattered on the concrete louder than any confession ever could. 2 days later, another notice appeared, this time threatening a lien on our house. Deborah was escalating, trying to break us publicly. So I escalated smarter. I drove the photos, the measurements, and every state statute I could quote straight to the Department of Environmental Quality in Richmond. The inspector, a no-nonsense guy named Harlan, raised an eyebrow when I laid the file on his desk. You're telling me their showpiece fountain has been bleeding thousands of gallons a week while they fine residents for taking showers? I nodded. And they broke into my house, citing those same rules. Harlan tapped his pen. HOAs aren't above state law, Mr. Bennett. This could trigger a full compliance audit. I drove home with a copy of the complaint in my glove box and a smile I hadn't worn in weeks. Deborah was out front of the clubhouse when I passed, clipboard in hand, barking at some poor soul about their lawn being 0.2 inches too tall. She caught my eye and lifted her chin like she still owned the world. I just waved. Let her enjoy the view while it lasted. The emergency board meeting was called for Thursday night. The community hall smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Folding chairs filled fast, more people than I'd ever seen at one of these things. Deborah sat at the head table like a queen on trial, pearls tied around her neck. I took a seat in the middle with Emily beside me. Carlos stood near the back door, arms crossed, looking like he hadn't slept since our shed talk. Deborah opened with her greatest hits. Water conservation is our sacred duty, she declared, eyes laser-focused on me. Some households continue to endanger the entire community with reckless behavior. Murmurs rippled. I stood slowly, voice steady. Funny you mention conservation. While you're measuring my shower time, your precious Serenity Cascade is dumping enough water every week to fill an Olympic pool. I have the photos. The flow rates. The state inspector already has them too. The room went dead silent. Deborah's smile froze. That fountain is a community landmark, she snapped. It adds value. Before she could spin more lies, Carlos stepped forward. His voice cracked at first, then grew stronger with every word. I logged those numbers. She told me to change them. Told me to hide the leaks so insurance wouldn't skyrocket. I've got the original logs in my truck. Dates, contractor warnings, everything. I'm done lying for her. Gasps exploded across the hall. Deborah slammed her clipboard down. This is slander. He's a disgruntled employee. But nobody was listening to her anymore. People were standing, waving their own violation notices, voices rising like a wave finally breaking. You fined me for washing my car. You threatened my mortgage. The perfect little kingdom was cracking wide open right in front of her pearl necklace. Harlan arrived the next morning in his state-issued sedan. The whole neighborhood turned out like it was a block party. Deborah tried one last power play, striding up in her pastel blazer. This is private property. Harlan didn't even look up from his clipboard. Ma'am, state code doesn't care about your bylaws when you're violating conservation laws and falsifying records. He crouched by the fountain, traced the cracks, tested the pump. Every measurement he took made Deborah's face paler. Carlos handed over the original logs without a word. Harlan flipped through them, then looked straight at Deborah. This is fraud, ma'am. Fines start at $50,000. Compliance order issued today. Fountain shuts down immediately. Deborah's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers and clattered on the pavement. For the first time in years, Willow Creek Estates saw her without the mask, just a small, terrified woman who'd finally run out of rules to hide behind. The days that followed were beautiful chaos. State fines rolled in bigger than any violation notice Deborah had ever issued. A special election was called. Deborah wasn't even nominated. Her name got booed when someone tried to say it. Carlos kept his job. The new board actually listened when he talked about real repairs. The fountain was drained and covered with a tarp that read, "Under maintenance, courtesy of state law." Every time I drove past it, I smiled. Emily and I stood at the roundabout one evening, watching the sunset paint the tarp orange. She squeezed my hand. "You didn't just save our bathroom," she said softly. "You gave the whole neighborhood their voice back." I thought about the scream that started it all, the humiliation, the steam, the badge flashing like justice itself. Deborah had tried to strip us of dignity inside our own walls. Instead, she exposed her entire empire for the leaky fraud it always was. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. And be honest. Was Deborah Langston really just doing her job, enforcing rules for the greater good, or was she the real criminal who deserved every drop of that public humiliation? Drop your verdict below. And if you've ever been terrorized by an HOA Karen, tell me your story, because trust me, the next one might be even wilder. See you in the next neighborhood nightmare.